Scott, I guess we'll start with the big story, which is really not a story, but at least we found out for sure today that there will be an election call on Sunday. And from what we understand, or maybe you can clarify, it's going to be one of the shortest campaigns ever?
Well, I think it's going to be at the lower end of the legislative. I don't really think it's going to be one of the shortest campaigns ever. I think it's going to be a natural campaign. The law dictates that campaigns are anywhere between 38 and 51 days, or 37 and 51 days. So I think they're going to obviously go for the shortest window possible because suddenly the Liberals have the momentum. And look, here's the fundamental thing I would say with this election. Every time a leader steps to a podium for an election, they say, this could be the most important set of choices in our country's history. This could be the big turning point, the most important crossroads we've ever approached. In this case, it might actually be. We got a guy who's never been in elected office as prime minister. We've got a government that was 26 points behind 2 months ago. Suddenly now they're tied or in the lead. Donald Trump is threatening to destroy our economy, maybe break us up and annex our country. This is this is like an HBO special of an election, and it's I don't mean to make it sound like Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. This isn't a game, and it's more important than hoisting a sports trophy. But geez, man, this thing is going to be something to behold and one for the books.
So let me ask the question. We had one of our commentators earlier on, and I thought this was great. I mean, with respect to what the issue is going to be, and I know the Conservatives have now shifted to Mark Carney not disclosing this. There's a conflict here, conflict of interest, et cetera. I'm not sure that can last for an entire campaign. He suggested that, you know what, this will come down to, at the end of the day, who does Donald Trump hate more?
I don't think that's right. I think it's going to come down to who the Canadians believe is best able to take on Donald Trump. And I think that's apparent. Like, I think like you don't need me, like any dum-dum knows that's what this election is about. And there's some resistance among the Conservatives. They have, tried to stick to the campaign that they wanted to have, that they were on track to have, and that they were winning by a mile. But, man, like, fate and circumstances and life in the big city have conspired against them. This election is going to be about Trump and who Trump hates. Like, who knows what Trump says. I like Carney. I'd rather have Carney. Is he saying that because he means that? Is he saying that because he'd rather actually have Polyev? You can't trust. One of the fundamental realities of this, you can't rely on this guy's word. You can't rely on this guy's word for a single thing. And I guarantee that we will not go 3 days in this election without Trump barging into it, making news, threatening tariffs, removing tariffs, offering exemptions, removing exemptions, talking about taking our Great Lakes, talking about swallowing up the St. Lawrence Seaway. Like, every flippin' freaking day, this guy's going to be in the news and on our minds.
I wonder, too, if this deadline, this line in the sand now, which is April 2nd, right? That's when the next round of tariffs, including the auto sector, are supposed to come back into play. This will be in the middle of an election campaign, and that, I imagine, will be extremely significant.
For sure. And, what are we going to get? Well, we know what we're going to get. We're going to get a repeat of what we've gotten before. So he's going to slap tariffs on not just Canada and Mexico, but on the whole wide world. Yeah. And then he's going to say, now, these tariffs, maybe the best tariffs anybody's ever seen. Maybe the best tariffs of all time. Many people think my tariffs are the best tasting tariffs. And he's going to go on and on. Then he's going to say maybe he'll remove them. Maybe he'll keep them on. Maybe the countries that come to him first and kiss his ring and bring him butter tarts will get preferential treatment. And we'll go on, and you'll see a whole pile of exemptions, more threats, rollbacks. They'll see countervailing tariffs. And that's not just going to happen for Canada. In this round, it's going to happen with a whole pile of nations around the world. So it's just going to be a constant cluster of conversation about Donald Trump and tariffs, and we will have zero certainty. Because it's not like, okay, the tariffs are on, that's it, now we have to restructure our economy. It'll be a constantly shifting, moving target. He'll always be trying to play with it and say, oh, I'm gaining leverage here, or I'm, securing some kind of possibility here. Watch for another thing in all of this. I bet he's going to start to try to treat energy differently. He's going to try to get some kind of sweetheart deal out of Alberta and work some kind of side deal with Danielle Smith. Watch what that does in the middle of an election. Think about how Quebec and Ontario are going to like that if she starts trying to cut a deal for the energy-producing industries in her province alone, but not for the rest of Canada. Like, this thing is going to drive the campaign.
Well, it won't be dull. Let me go on and talk about something else that I just saw. Toronto Star reporting that Pierre Poilievre actually reached out to Doug Ford and said, "Can I count on you? Can I have you come on and join the campaign?" To which Doug Ford said, "Sorry, I'm busy."
This reminds me of in grade 9, I called Lisa Hanthorne at like 11 o'clock at night after working up my courage for the whole night and asked her if she would like to start on Monday going with me, because that's what we called it in school. When you were boyfriend-girlfriend, you were going together. And she blew me off and told me that she couldn't talk about it because it was very late and she had to go to bed. Literally, Pierre Poilievre just asked Doug Ford, "Can we go together?" And he was like, "Sorry, I got to wash my hair." And look, very hard for Ford as a conservative to endorse Mark Carney as a Liberal. But there's no question that there's tension between the provincial Conservatives in Ontario and the federal Conservatives. And the two guys just think they're not on the same page politically and even policy-wise. Because like Quebec, Ontario investing massively in EV plants, industrial strategy, and Poilievre was talking about ripping up all of that, calls it corporate welfare. And I don't think that Doug Ford and he are on the same page.
Yeah, apparently not. It's kind of like a you up. Let me talk about this other meeting with Pierre Poilievre today, meeting with Francois Legault this afternoon. Any idea what we're looking at here? What did they discuss? They've talked about it?
More workmanlike, I bet. Like, he's not going to put himself in a position where he gets turned down twice in a row, right? Because goodness knows, after I asked out Lisa Hanthorne, I asked out Vicky Smith, and she also shotgunned me. So I didn't learn my lesson. I think Poilievre has. And my guess is that they'll talk about, their issues of mutual interest. We'll be talking about Legault's trade trip next week and the importance of building out trade relationships in Europe, Germany, etc. And, that'll be that. And it's just really Poilievre trying to deepen his connection to Quebec, where he looks very fragile politically all of a sudden, and there aren't deep roots for the federal Conservatives. I don't think there's going to be acres of news, and I don't think Legault's going to be hitching his wagon to Poilievre.
Yeah, although I will remind you, last time around, before Pierre Poilievre was the leader, Francois Legault made a point of saying, "Hey, we support the Conservatives in the federal election." We know how well that turned out, so I'm not sure that's going to change anything.
And it really felt like that was directed at Trudeau. It'd be interesting to see how Legault comports himself in this campaign.
What are we looking at polling-wise today? Nanos poll, what's the latest on this? Are we still in a you call them? It's too close to call?
I think most of the pollsters net out at a jump ball. There are a couple of outliers that show the Liberals pulling ahead, so we'll have to wait and see if that's a trend. The reality is that the momentum that's carried the Liberals toward this rebound, there's no evidence that is stalled out. That's why Carney's calling this campaign, among other reasons, like strike while the iron's hot. Yeah. When is it ever going to get better?
So I will point out, by the way, with respect to some of the names not being mentioned, so for us in Quebec, Carlos Leitao, our former finance minister, he is going to be part of the team. He'll be running for the federal Liberals. We found out today that Evan Solomon has been asked. I guess he's going to run. I had Frank Baylis on my show earlier this afternoon. He was asked, apparently, he said this, by Mark Carney if he'd be interested and opted not to. But you kind of wonder now, with the Liberals showing as much strength as they are in the polls, how much easier it'll be to attract some big name, if you will, talent to run in this election. Do you think that's something they do?
Yeah, good luck builds good luck. You know what I mean? So you get somebody like Leitao, who obviously Carney's known for a long time, has a lot of faith in, so he's the big name. How about the mayor of Vancouver, former mayor of Vancouver, Greg Robertson? He's going to be running. That's a stomach kick to the NDP out there. So, yeah, you're going to see Carney. I mean, it's part of a plan. There's a reason that they have structured this week the way they have. They're not dumb. They're every day is a deliberate play, right? And so now what we're going to see between now and Sunday, they're going to start to roll out some of these names. Evan Solomon, longtime buddy of mine, we broadcast together for years and years, and he might end up running in my home riding in Toronto, Eglinton Lawrence. So it's going to be interesting. And I think there's a couple of other shoes to drop, a couple of other names to share.
And with those names, I mean, would you say the same on the conservative side as well, or is this just where the Liberals start to really grab some attention?
I think the Liberals are trying to grab a little bit of attention, but the Conservatives have had people lined up, and I think you're going to see them drop some big names too.
All right.
Ultimately, you know what really matters? It names of the leaders, and like the reality is, this is going to come down to Evan Carney, and it's going to come down to the trust that Canadians have in one or the other of them to take on Trump. Just like we said at the start of the show, whether people like it or not, that's what this campaign's about, and all roads lead through the Oval Office, and whoever can present themselves as the best counterpoint to Trump is going to end up Prime Minister.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. Scott, thank you so much. Appreciate the time.